Thank you. Welcome. Gela Kesla Gigigame, Gela Kesla Mimaya. Welcome, chiefs, elders, community, Board of Governors, President Bowman, NIC admins, staff and faculty, and most importantly, students. Gela Kesla, Namugwis, and Cal and Maggie for welcoming us and blessing this space and moving us into ceremony. This work helps to calm us and settle us and move us forward in a good way, collectively. I'd like to also acknowledge, as Maggie did at the beginning of our time here, that we are on Kwak'wala's territory, and we're so very lucky to have Kwak'wala sharing their territory with us. Thank you. Today we have been gifted with a Kwak'wala name, and that is an incredible privilege. Not only does this name work to ensure our Kwak'wala students see that their culture and their educational practices can belong here, it also invites those of us who are not Kwak'wala to learn about the Kwak'wala perspective and the rich lens with which the Kwak'wala language also gifts us. Sometimes we don't think very much about what a name means and all that it can carry, and a new name reminds us of all that it can impart and express. In my experience, the Kwak'wala perspective itself reminds us too of the importance of names and of language. And part of my own education here, with the Kwak'wala people as my teachers, has been in gaining a richer perspective of land and place. For instance, I see Stories Beach differently now that I know that it's been called Tyaguth, a place to wade in the water, since time immemorial. And now that I know that there is a rich origin story attached to that place for many of the Kwak'wala tribes. Now we have been gifted a name at the college, a new place name, with which we will make new experiences and histories, a name upon which students and community will build their stories and their dreams. This new name is also an important act of reconciliation to redress the legacy of residential schools and all educational spaces and systems that have harmed and excluded Indigenous peoples, perspectives, and practices. Over 15 years ago, Mi'kmaq elder Albert Marshall, an elder on the East Coast, coined the term two-eyed seeing, which is now often used to describe seeing from both Indigenous and Western perspectives simultaneously, taking the best from both views. We, and when I say we, I mean the Canadian education system, asked Indigenous peoples for a long time to live their lives seeing only through the Western lens when they were in a Canadian educational space. This new name for our college is an invitation for those of us who are not Kwak'wala to begin to learn a two-eyed seeing, to learn and grow from the knowledge and wisdom that is inherent in the Kwak'wala language, peoples, and land, and from the knowledge that the elders have gifted us with in many other ways, through their mentorship of our students and their sharing of knowledge in our classes too. This new name reminds us to see educational space differently, to honor Indigenous educational practices and traditions, as well as Canadian educational traditions, and to learn what our own perspective is, and also to try to understand others. The foundational basis for any relationship is an exchange of ideas, the same Mi'kmaq elder Albert Marshall says. I think we are beginning a new story of this college space now, but one that grows out of the histories and culture that have existed here since time immemorial. Thank you very much, and I'll turn the mic over to John. Gela Kesla.
Thank you. Wow, thank you, Caitlin. Good afternoon, Gela Kesla, everyone. I want to first thank you all for being here. It's a historic and important day for North Island College. This day wouldn't be possible without the leadership and wisdom and energy of people like Caitlin Hartnett, Sarah Child. I also want to acknowledge all the chiefs who are here, the elders, and community elected officials and community leaders. The Board of Governors of North Island College is here. We're having a meeting tomorrow. On behalf of them, we are honored and appreciative to accept and embrace the name for the campus. I'm going to try to pronounce it. Alakwila, Dream Maker. Alakwila? Alakwila. At North Island College, we value all of the relationships we have with our communities. We are committed to being inclusive, accessible, and welcoming. And I hope that the renaming of the campus will contribute to feelings of belonging, both for Indigenous students and also for non-Indigenous students, to learn more about First Peoples culture and heritage. And as Caitlin said, for all those very powerful and important reasons. Now, one special guest who couldn't be with us today has sent a letter, and that is the Honorable Melanie Mark, Minister of Advanced Education and Skills Training. And Minister Mark asked that I read this letter to you on her behalf since she couldn't be here. She says, "Dear friends, following protocol, I would like to acknowledge that this important occasion is taking place on the traditional territory of the Kwak'wala First Nations. Welcome to the chiefs, elders, matriarchs, students, faculty, staff, and many others who've gathered for North Island College's campus naming ceremony. I regret that I cannot be here in person with you, but I'm with you in spirit. My name is Melanie Mark. I am Nishka, Gitsan, Cree, Ojibwe, and the Minister of Advanced Education and Skills Training. Education has played an important part in my life. My grandparents were profoundly impacted by residential schools. My grandmother attended St. Michael's, and I am the first person in my family to complete high school and graduate from college and university. As minister, I'm proud to be part of a government that is deeply committed to meaningful and lasting reconciliation, especially as it pertains to addressing inequality and lifting people up. I understand that Alakwila means making what's been dreamt about or dream maker. The name of this campus truly represents the dreams and aspirations of the many students who will choose to study close to home at the campus. I'm confident their hard work and perseverance to find careers that bring them passion will strengthen the community for generations to come. Education is key to true and lasting reconciliation. Our government is committed to working together to implement the calls to action of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and to the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. When we formed government in 2007, we eliminated tuition for adult upgrading and implemented a province-wide program to support former youth in care to attend public colleges and universities tuition-free. Last fall, we celebrated Canada's first Indigenous law program at the University of Victoria. Together, we can make a positive change. Thank you for being here today and collectively having the courage, vision, and leadership to disrupt the status quo. I've been told there is no act of reconciliation that is too small, and I am so proud to be in the canoe with you. Let's keep paddling together. Sincerely, Honorable Melanie Mark, Minister of Advanced Education and Skills Training. Thank you, Minister Mark. Now it's my pleasure to welcome Jane Murphy, the Chair of the College Board of Governors, to say a few words. Jane?
Thank you, John. It indeed is a privilege and honor for the North Island College Board of Directors to be a part of this important ceremony, the renaming of the North Island College Port Hardy campus to the Alakwila campus. And a huge thanks to the elders and communities that have supported and bestowed this name for us. And what a beautiful name it is. Maker of what's been dreamt about. How wonderful is that? So truly an honor. And I want to share with you as a board, we're deeply committed to meeting the educational needs of all students on the North Island, but in particular to our Indigenous students and their communities. We take very seriously the call to action of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and the United Nations Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples. We work to educate ourselves to better understand the history, culture, needs, and future of our Indigenous students and their communities. And we had the absolute pleasure of being in Fort Rupert earlier today, learning from the wisdom of leaders there, and we're very grateful for that. We also at North Island College have an Aboriginal Council representing the many Indigenous communities that we work with, and the board meets regularly to hear from them relative to their issues and needs and aspirations, and that's always a pleasure to hear directly from them. So the renaming of this campus is a small step, but we hope an important sign of our commitment to Indigenous students and in working in partnership with Indigenous communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. I'd like to call up Sarah Child next, who has done an incredible amount of work on this project.
I'm emotional. It's an emotional day. Kila kesa mi mayan, kila ko, kila kesa nino ga, kila kesa kaka kus kapi go Kwak'wala, kluma mula no kaka kus, la misens ale hi dahi klasa lisens ni no kaya. I welcome you all, and I thank you. I thank our wise ones. I thank all of you for coming to help us find our hearts and to heal our hearts. The healing of our hearts lies within our language, and our elders have been talking about that with us for decades, sharing their wisdom and their knowledge, and helped us get to this point. So we welcome everyone. We thank you for gathering. We're so grateful to each and every one of you. Our language has been denied us. It was torn from our embrace and the voices of our children for decades, in fact for generations. So this is an important day for our people and for our college. We are extremely grateful. We are truthfully grateful, actually, is what that means. Today you've heard much about the TRC and the UNDRIP, mentioned many times. Both are very important measures for addressing the socioeconomic, health and wellness discrepancies that exist amongst our people across this nation. But if TRC and UNDRIP come without an action, what are they? If those actions are not rooted in the desires, the dreams, the aspirations of our people, what are they? I believe they are meaningless. So we all admire and are grateful for this mindful action that has led to the renaming of our campus. A seemingly simple act, but a huge act. One that we deeply appreciate. Our languages are tied to our hearts. This simple act uplifts our souls. It honors our language, it honors our land, and it honors the land that we stand on here today. It really honors our hearts. We want to express a special thank you to Caitlin Hartnett. Where are you? Behind me? For getting the ball rolling. There's always special people in our midst who plant the seeds of change, and we appreciate Caitlin for planting this seed. I want to hug you. We also want to thank John, the Board of Governors, and all of the decision makers who allowed this to happen and helped us. But we especially want to express our gratitude to our elders for their contributions in choosing this name. Thank you to our wise ones, our elders who carry our language. We are truly grateful that you have taken care of us on the journey that has brought us to this place. I'm going to call on a couple of our staff to help distribute a gift to the elders who helped us in choosing this name. They were Uncle George Namukwis, Uncle Ross, who is not here today, Julia, Reg Seaweed, Ruth Seaweed, they were unable to attend today, Agnes Morash, if you would stand, my mother, Mildred, and my brother Mervyn. We have a small token of our appreciation for the role that you took in helping us to choose this beautiful and wonderful name that means so much. I've also been asked to share an announcement that I am extremely happy and excited about. As many of you know, 2019 is the International Year of Indigenous Languages. And North Island College, we have set out on creating the first ever fluency building certificate. So Indigenous Language Fluency Certificate. We've been working on it since January, and it is now at a stage where it's going to go in front of the EDCO, is that right? For approval, and our intention is to launch the certificate in the fall of 2020 here at the alakwila campus. So it's time for us to pass that message along to help get our potential students ready to walk into our certificate, and it's an extremely exciting time. So Qela Kesa again to North Island College for taking these actions that are deliberate responses to our communities. Qela Kesa.
So next up we have someone who's very special to me. She actually was one of my first students when I started here a decade ago, and that's Rebecca Charlie. I should mention she's also a current student.
Thank you, Becky. Yeah, I've never done this before. I just wanted to say thank you to Sarah. It was her encouragement to take this course, and I've really enjoyed learning the Awitnakola program that I'm in. I really enjoy learning the language, and I've always wanted to work with children and youth, and my initial goal was to get into early child care and maybe child and youth care. And since I've started this program, that goal, that dream seems to be changing, because I really feel like I would like to learn more of the language and pass on the knowledge to the next generation as well, to help keep it alive.
Thank you, Becky. So you'll see behind me a very magnificent gift. The tlamilas that's right behind Calvin, what we might call in English a dance screen. I'm going to have Calvin come up here and talk a bit about it, but it's now the college's dance screen, our students and community's dance screen, to be used at any ceremony for the future. So Gela Kesla, Calvin, let's hear a bit more about it.
Thank you so much. Alakwila. That is just absolutely beautiful. It's when Sarah and Caitlin first came and approached me about this, I was very excited about education is such an important thing to our children. And it has to come from the parents, of course, and with the encouragement of places like this where they can come to learn about their culture and who they are and where they come from. And this name is just absolutely, it's a beautiful name. They asked me to do a screen, and over the years, these used to be in big houses, and they were usually made out of wood. And then when the Europeans came over, our people seen this as an opportunity to paint screens, and then they could take them down and put them away, or even hide them from the government, because a lot of times they went underground to potlatch. And what these screens were for is, this is where your treasures would come from. And a family might go to an artist such as Kwak'wala. This is a grandson of Willie Seaweed, who designed many, many famous screens, as well as Mungo Martin, just to name a few. These were really, really treasured by family members. And sometimes they would come to you through a dream or a vision, and the family member would go ask an artist to come up with something that they had seen or envisioned, and leave it up to the artist to come up with their version of what they wanted. And on this particular camelus or mawis is a copper in the middle, which is a symbol of wealth. And on that copper is a human being. Because everything in our culture had the power to transform from a being to a human being, or back to a raven or an eagle or a whale. Then we have the ravens. The raven is a creator of light. And this particular story comes from our great-great-grandmother, Anislaga, from Tongass, Alaska. And the world was in darkness. And the raven had heard about this great light that this chief had kept in this box. So the raven, you know how they're tricksters. So he finally figured out how he was going to get this box of treasure, this light. And he found out where the chief's daughter would go get her drinking water. So he transformed into a pine needle, and he drifted down into her drinking cup, and she had noticed him and drank the water and swallowed the pine needle. Well, she became pregnant, and the old people thought, okay, this is just something that's supernatural, it's a gift from the Creator. And she gave birth to a son, and he grew very quickly, and he was a very, very spoiled little boy. And he got everything he wanted, except for that box. And one day he was having a tantrum, and the daughter pleaded with her father to let him have the box because he thought he might die. So he finally let him have the box. And the first chance he got, he opened that lid, and he transformed back into a raven. And he's supernatural. He carried that sun out through the smoke hole. He released it into the sky. So that's what they wanted, is the raven released into the sun. And there's always usually two figures, one's a male and one's a female. So that's what this represents. I want to say thank you to my wife, Marie, who sewed the canvas together. My daughter, Allie, who helped with making the stand. And thank you to alakwila for the job. Gela Kessler.
Gela Kessler, Calvin. So, just a little bit more about the raven before I turn it over to Maggie and Mervyn. Back in the fall, we were all sitting around, all the staff and faculty, and we were thinking, what do we do for our fall orientation? And Maggie said, well, let's do something around the raven. So you can see we had a raven that we used as a theme for our fall orientation for our students. And that came from Maggie, and then we all sat around the table and agreed deeply with her. So we've asked her to describe a little bit more why she chose the raven and how it aligns with an educational space for her. So Maggie.
Hey, like I saw. Actually, Calvin just told my story. But it's such a, I saw this story. It's on a DVD called Raven's Tales, and it's really neat because you could show it to the children and all that. But it helped me understand what happened with the raven, why the raven turned black, because he went up the chimney hole. But he brought light into the world so that the trees and everything could grow, because you know we need the sun to grow. And to me, the raven is like our elders. Our elders have the knowledge and education. So our job as elders, I believe, is to share. It's just like the moon and the stars, like what Calvin said. That this, it's just our whole being. It's a holistic thing. And I really believe that. And we have our elders that are sharing their lives, their stories with us. And I urge the young people to go to your elders and ask them questions, because a lot of them are lonely. They don't have anybody to talk to. And once they start talking about their youth, how they grew up and everything like that, it's fantastic. They just light up and they're so happy to share. I love telling my stories to my grandchildren and whoever will listen to me. And if I don't know what it's about, I make it up. And I really believe that our language is coming back. Our language, which the help of our elders, and it's a passion that Sarah has, and she's done a lot of work with bringing all the language into focus with the college and with bringing that certificate. That's wonderful. And I welcome Alakwila Kasla, and also to Caitlin. Caitlin saw an elder. I was on the street. Actually, she used to run by our house, and she invited me to put my name forward for as a resident elder, which I never thought I'd ever be. But I applied anyways with her encouragement, and I just love it. I love being here. I love interacting with the students. And even now they've given me 2 Instant Pots so I can make soup once a week. And I love doing that. It's what I used to do at the college, at the high school. I used to make soup and lunches for the students there, because if your stomach isn't full, you can't learn. And even though I was told by the staff that you're taking responsibility away from the parents, that doesn't matter to me about the parents. The children matter to me, the students matter to me. And that's what our job is, our duty is, to look after our students, our children, and encourage them. I'm doing my best. And that's all we can ask anybody to do, is to do their best. But I invite you, because we've got feathers here, if you want to put your dream on it. Even though I'm 75, I still have a dream. And I invite you to put your dream up there, to join us in our dreams. You're making our dreams come true. And I think it's a very appropriate name. I'm not used to speaking anything. And Calvin, I thank you for telling the story. I was all geared up. How do you say Raven? Well, we know. But it's good to share. Be like Asla.
Kayla Kessler, Maggie. So as part of this process, we tasked Kwak'wala artist Mervyn Child, esteemed Kwak'wala artist Mervyn Child, to create a logo for our campus, and one that will be used. We're hoping we'll have an awning out front with it on it. John.
Okay.
So Mervyn has a lot to say too about the logo he created. It's not quite finished or printed. It's finished, but it's not printed on anything yet. So look forward in the next few months to seeing it. But he has some words to share about it. Mervyn.
Kila Kestalkla, Gigi Kamemi Mayak, Wallace Mullen, Gacha Hus, Klume. Thank you, everybody. It was happened by chance that I dropped by the big house today. And I was fed a beautiful lunch like we always are. I'm so well fed, this generation. And but that raven story, that's a beautiful thing. So I went to borrow a trailer yesterday from Rupert Wilson Sr. because I was going to go steal a log that was laying in the community. And so he gave me this medicine that he had made from clover, from cinnafoil root, from different roots and plants, and he was talking with great detail about these Ziploc bags of these medicines, and he's going to send them to Victoria to assist part of the community that isn't doing well. And so when I hooked his trailer up, I put those bags of that very precious stuff that he worked with his working hands, his digging hands, his healing hands, and I put it in the back of my truck and went home. Busied myself and stole my log and did that. And I came out of the house, and here a raven is flying away with one of the Ziploc bags. So I quickly ran after the raven and the raven flew through the trees, and I threw some sticks and stones at it, and it dropped the bag. So I went running through the forest and found the bag, and it had chirped some holes in it and stuff, and went back to the truck to find the remains of the entire package. So I was very lucky. Yeah. I'm somewhat surprised that the image isn't available for all of us to see, but it was inspired by the illumination that the raven brought to all of us, and that metaphor is what our elder's seen. She's seen the metaphor of the brilliance that comes through knowledge and education, that she could marry those stories, marry that history together. That is the history of a people. It is not a story. And so in conversation with Caitlin, she referenced that a Raven Rattle is an old instrument that allowed our ancestors to communicate with spirit. And so on the Raven Rattles that were traded all up and down the coast when the newcomer first came here, the Raven Rattles were, the body of the raven had, on the back of the raven is a human being. And this rattle by Richard Hunt of the Kwak'wala shows the raven's body here. Here's the handle of the raven. The tail of the raven oftentimes had a hawkman on it with a corona of the sun on it, representing its tail. And the frog would be found somewhere in relationship to this hawkman, this sun. And its tongue would be bridged into the mouth of a human being. And so in 1981, there was a big show at the University of British Columbia where they explored this. What does this mean? What is this about? And so the frog, all of the Wakashin language groups and all of the old languages and song text, religious protocol, talked about the relationship of the frog as a communicator with spirit. And so when the Raven Rattle is used, it's used upside down. The Raven Rattle is handled like that by the Hoylekila and so on. And so it's really a wonderful tool. So somehow that language and all of that stuff got lost. It got lost only to be rediscovered in 1981. And rediscovered and gifted all back to us. All of that knowledge is gifted back to us. So with that in mind, we created this, which shows a raven interacting with its breath with a human being, showing a frog being supported by a frog, and out of all of that comes the illumination, the sun represented on the top. I'm just going to end by translating what Uncle George said outside in Kwak'wala. He said that it is important that we work together, that we work together for the benefit of all of our children and our children yet unborn. He also made reference to the beautiful, beautiful day and that the sun was out for us today. I'd like to thank Caitlin for the gift of love and for the awesome transformation of this space. Gela Kesla, all my relations.
Gela Kesla ga astolas. Gela Kesla Mervyn. So, one thing that we didn't do at our opening that we should have done, Mervyn corrected me on this, is to open the mic for any of the chiefs that would like to speak or community members. So I'd like to move now into that time when any of you, if you'd like to share something, feel free to step up, or any community members.
You want me to introduce you? This man is a legend.
Don't believe what he says. I'm a great pretender. Like Albert says in his songs, I'm a great pretender. Kaya kasakla, kaya kasakin namur, nasti mutka. Kaya kiki kamay, lelew klakai, hamaslo. Yakinayos homortaka kikila saka kita saka kwikita sisinamota kanala no kwa kakwa lamasno almaskin kinana kwa kana pa akada away na kwese kakwa na kole saka no yakandas Kwak'wala bakumkala tomata tomkano kairs oka sokata kastasi Kwak'wala yakandas is galaxy while they stands. No source and spolpala stands. Now, could I no carta, galaxy license. The coming in galaxy while I was awareness with the First Nations and put myself to the galaxy valleys. So we were the first people of this earth in British Columbia and in Canada. All the First Nations people. That's why I'm always proud to say I'm a Bakum. I don't say now where I'm from. I'm just saying I'm a Bakum. I'm a native of Canada, native of British Columbia. So it's always a challenge for me because I've lived in the city for so long and I've been able to converse in our language. But I'm also glad that I was strong enough to maintain our language and our culture, anything to do with our culture. Yakandasano like Yuchi. It's how we speak in a big house. Because it's a little bit different from when we speak in the public. That was the ancestors' way of presenting themselves. And I'm trying to learn that as I go along. And Sarah and I talked about it in Hawaii when I attended the language convention in Hawaii. But we want to try and teach our young people to start learning to speak in a big house. Yakanda is like a Gucci. And Sarah and I are really, really strong feeling about that happening today. Right,
New
Sarah?
program.
Yeah. And she was very strongly, very emphatic about it. We can do it, we can do it. And I'm sure we can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we just help one another, to cooperate with one another, and work with amongst elders and hereditary chiefs and all our noble ladies, because one time I always talk about this when I speak, that noble ladies were the really knowledgeable people that stood behind the chiefs, stood behind the chiefs, advising them what to do or what to say, and the stories that they have to portray or speak about when they got up and speak about our culture, our ways of our life as a Kwak'wala nation. And I'm all Tumkanoka, which is Kwak. I am really proud of Sarah for doing this. And the son was with him, and I'm really proud. I'll call her sister, Mildred, the mom. So, with that, as I say, it's a cooperation. Another thing that Sarah has put to me is that we had a luncheon about three months ago at the Kwak'wala about the trying to get our people together so that we can start working together as a unit instead of keep drifting apart. And if we can work together as a unit, we'd be a lot stronger as a Kwak'wala nation. And I really like Sarah's concept of that. Her way of teaching is excellent. I'm very proud of her. She's a super teacher, and I just hope that our young people will learn from her and portray our people as First Nations people.
Gail Kessler. It's our pleasure, the District Board Party, it's our pleasure to have the North Island College here in our community. It's a blessing to have it here. And we're so proud of this day because it's so important for us as we move forward with our Truth and Reconciliation process and the understanding of our UN Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous People. It's very important to us that we work together to make it right. And as Caitlin already mentioned today, it's about time, myself and others in our community, that we look through the eyes of the other ones, not just ours. And I think it was very well put, Caitlin. I thank you very much for that, because sometimes we always look at it the way we look at it, and now it's time for us to look at it from the Indigenous side, and that's one of the things that I'm working hard on. I'm not that great with the language yet, as Caitlin already knows. I struggle with the wording, and Maggie's already told me sometimes that you got to do it this way, you got to, and I'm having a hard time getting that out, but I'm working on it. But to have this name and this name change, and I'm going to try it. Alakwila, is that close? Well, I'm sure. Alakwila? Kwak'wala. Okay, I got it almost. But anyways, now it's not going to be called the North Island College anymore. That's the new name, and I think that we're really proud to have that happen in our community, because that's so important for our community as we work together. As it always been mentioned, together we're stronger, and it's about time we start looking at it that way. It's about time we start recognizing that the Kwak'wala peoples, this is their territory, and we have to understand that, and we have to acknowledge that, and we do that at the District Party, and we'll continue to keep doing that. And our relationships are building, and we're getting closer, and we're starting to work together on projects that are meaning to all of us, because we as a community, we are one. And I think we've got to start thinking like that. We've got to start working towards that, and it's my obligation as the Mayor of Port Hardy and our council. We are obligated to do that, and we're going to do that, because that's our desire, to work together to make a better community in the North Island. And thank you very much again
to the North Island College for allowing this to be here and to allow the name change, because I think that's very, very important for our community. And I thank you for all of you for being here. Gela Kesla.
Gela Kesla. Nuguam Homaskinis. I am just stuck with the words of what is happening here. My background is I am a residential school survivor. I was punished for trying to do all this stuff. Sarah, you step forward. Keep on stepping forward. To my chiefs, we have a lot of work to do yet. Make us proud. To the teachers, facilitators, mayor, we're all in this together. That's all I have to say just for now. Gela Kesla.
Gela Kesla, Stan. Gela Kesla. Gigi Gime. So before we end, I just want to pass on some words Maggie shared with me before today, and she just wanted us all to remember what another elder said after Stephen Harper's apology. That elder said, and I don't have that elder's name, I'll have to find that out from Maggie, that words without action are meaningless. And this name is a start, but we've got a long way to go. I want to thank the elders for all the time they spent thinking about this name and gifting it to us. It's such an incredible privilege. Thank you. To thank Calvin and Mervyn for all their work on the art, for all their work for today's ceremony. I want to thank the HCA students that worked hard all afternoon getting this space cleaned up for everybody, moving things around. Also, of course, Judge Charles Humchett at the back, who needs some recognition, our carpentry student, and Sarah Case. Thank you so much. I also want to thank our Northern Advisory, Kelly Shopland, I see Grace here, our education coordinators for also giving us the opportunity to go forward in this process and with this name, as well as Tony Bellavia's consistent and constant support. And President Bowman, Christiana, Alex, thank you for all the amazing words and time and budget that you spent for this. And last but not least, Sarah Child, for all the help and hard work that you've done for language, for this college, and for this process. Gela Kesla mi alakwila. Thank you.